ये सभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्री प्रभुपाद की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। जय गौर प्रेमानंदे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। वल्गतः शत्रुम् अभीतः कृष्णस्य वदनाम्बुजम् वीक्षतां श्रमवार्य उक्तम् पद्मकोशम् इवाम्बुभिः। वल्गतः शत्रुम् अभीतः कृष्णस्य वदनाम्बुजम् वीक्षतां श्रमवार्य उक्तम् पद्मकोशम् इवाम्बुभिः। वल्गतः शत्रुम् अभीतः कृष्णस्य वदनाम्बुजम् वीक्षतां श्रमवार्य उक्तम् पद्मकोशम् इवाम्बुभिः। वल्गतः शत्रुम् अभीतः कृष्णस्य वदनाम्बुजम् वीक्षतां श्रमवार्य उक्तः पद्मकोशम् इवाम्बुभिः। तां सर्वार्योक्तां पद्मकोशम् इवाम्बुभिः। वल्गता शत्रुमभीतः वदनाम्बुजम् तां सर्वार्योक्तां पद्मकोशम् इवाम्बुभिः। वैष्णव। वल्गता शत्रुमभीतः तां समवार्योक्तां पद्मकोशम् इवाम्बुभिः। शत्रुमभीतः वदनाम्बुजम् तां समवार्योक्तां पद्मकोशम् इवाम्बुभिः। वल्गतः leaping shatrum of his enemy abhitaha on all sides krishnasya of Krishna vadan the face ambujam lotus like vikshatam you should see shrama of fatigue vari with the moisture uptam covered padma of a lotus flower kosham the whirl iva like ambubhi with droplets of water Translation by the followers of Srila Prabhupada. No purport. Just see the lotus face of Krishna as he darts around his foe. That face, covered with drops of perspiration, brought on by the strenuous fight, resembles a lotus covered with dew. ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकाय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमा ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी इति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So today morning we are in a dramatic phase of the Srimad Bhagavatam where Krishna has made his entry into the what might contemporarily be called the big leagues. So it's like suppose there's some sports player, maybe tennis player is playing in some local clubs, and then suddenly the tennis player comes to a Grand Slam tournament, the US Open, Wimbledon, and there player is just defeating one champion after another after another. It's where that person will become globally known, become a celebrity instantly. So Krishna has been in Vrindavan. In Vrindavan, he has been doing extraordinary activities. But there was no social media at that time to show Krishna. Actually, you have some YouTube clip showing how Krishna killed this demon, how Krishna killed that demon. From the rest of the world's perspective, that the demons went to Vrindavan and just didn't come back. Now, Kamsa thought that he inferred that he must have been killed by Krishna, but nobody outside Vrindavan had seen Krishna in action. And when he came in to Mathura, because of those rumors, in this case the rumors were true, but the rumors swirling around Krishna, he was already some kind of a celebrity. But he's not that big a celebrity. People were attracted to him when they saw him. And Krishna had already killed the demon, the elephant Kovalyapida, when he came in. But it's one thing to have a conflict, to have Krishna as a small child doing the extraordinary feat, Bala Kridana Kamiva, killing demons. But now in public, when he has to face these powerful wrestlers, the first thing that struck most observers over there was seeming unfairness of it. Krishna is a small child, and these are deadly wrestlers. And that theme runs through the most of the expressions that are there over here. There is the audience, there are many emotions they experience. There is marvel at Krishna's beauty. And then along with that, there is fear. Fear, what is going to happen to Krishna? If you look at several verses over here, these two themes run constantly. They find him extremely attractive, but at the same time, they are fearful. And that theme is there in this verse also. While this verse seems to be saying that, just behold, Vikshatam, see how beautiful he is. His face, there's drops of perspiration on his face like drops of water on lotus. His face is being compared to lotus, Padma. So then that's a sign of beauty. But at the same time, the acharyas are commenting over there that This sweat that is being formed indicates that he is being exhausted. And he's exhausted because it's an unfair fight. So right from the beginning, they're trying to say that this fight should not occur. Krishna is a small child. Kamsa and the other wrestlers, they override the objections. They say, he can fight with us. But they're saying he's exhausted over here. So looking at this broader picture, I will focus on one theme, that is Krishna's beauty, is it subjective or is it objective? Recently, I was asked a question on my website that, I don't feel attracted to Krishna. You say Krishna is all attractive, but I don't find him attractive. So attractive. So there is that saying, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So is that really true? So is it that if every soul is a part of Krishna, then, and every soul is ultimately loving Krishna, then why is it that some people find Krishna attractive and some don't? So is this a matter of subjectivity? So I'll talk about 4 broad levels in the progression. See, there is material subjectivity, there is material objectivity, there is spiritual objectivity, and there is spiritual subjectivity. So, and these are, so I told him that this is not so much subjective or objective as it is level specific. That there is of course subjectivity and objectivity, but it's more a matter of level of our consciousness. So in quantum physics, a word is used, state specific. That depending on the state of the observer, the observed reality changes. So something similar. Let me explain what we mean by this. That when we perceive the world, like now people say that, now if we just consider the idea of beauty, is beauty subjective or objective? Well, some people say it's completely subjective. When 2 people are in love with each other, the person may feel this other person is the most beautiful person in the world. Nobody else compares. Poets make songs about it. Now, we generally would call this as infatuation. That this person is just infatuated. Now, having said that idea that this person is the most attractive person in the world, that we could say at one level is just infatuation. So we could say beauty in that sense is subjective. Here I'm talking primarily about material beauty. Now, having said that, we also know that there are 6 opulences which Krishna has. And among these 6 opulences, one is beauty, Shri. And we also understand that when people in this world have one of these opulences, say if somebody has wealth, now is wealth subjective or objective? Well, at one level it is objective. So some people are wealthier than others. They are living in bigger houses. And some people, if we consider intelligence, some people have a better IQ than others. So there's no denying that. So it's not just a matter of subjectivity. So we can say that beauty, being one of the opulences, is also objective. If somebody has beauty, that indicates that they have done some past good karma, because of which they have got one opulence of Krishna in some fragment. So now we could of course say that the extent of beauty, who finds whom how beautiful, that can vary from person to person. But still there is some objective sense of beauty. Now this radical differentiation between subjective and objective, no, beauty is not objective, it is subjective. When people say this comes from one particular worldview, which is what needs to be challenged. That is the scientific or specifically reductionistic worldview, which claims that objective reality has to be measurable. That For something to be objective, it has to be mathematically calculable. But the fact is that objective doesn't have to be measurable. It's not the same. There can be objective realities which may not be measured. If we consider there are three levels of reality, there's the soul, the mind, and the body. Now, according to our, so this is the body. According to the Gita's philosophy, all three are objective levels of reality. The soul exists objectively. The mind exists objectively. The body exists objectively. But among these, it is only that the physical level that measurement is possible, mathematical measurement. Even materially speaking, if you ask somebody, most people, does your mother love you? Of course. And how do you measure it? There's no parameter to measure it. Now, that does not mean it's not real. It's there. Nowadays, people are so insecure about relationship. When they enter into a relationship, they would really like to know the other person care for me. So if a boy proposes to a girl, he's married. I love you very much. The girl says, okay, here is a love meter. Let me put it on your heart. And let's see how much you love me. Then I'll decide. Now, love is the reality that we all have experienced to some extent, and we all want to experience more. But it again can't be measured objective. So this rigid division between objective and subjective, if it is based on the idea of things have to be measurable to be objective, then it relegates the entire non-material domain and even much of the material domain, because we could say taste or fragrance. We don't have a fragranceometer. You can say, oh, this perfume is too strong. This perfume, I can't even smell it. But you can't objectively measure it, but it's real. So the understanding is that reality is both subjective plus objective. That there is an objective standard of beauty. But beyond that, specifically what a person finds beautiful, there is subjectivity in it. And in terms of the journey out of Maya, we can consider, we talk about these 4 levels, in terms of the journey out of Maya, to move from material subjectivity to material objectivity is one step higher. If somebody is infatuated, this is the most beautiful person in the world. Well, maybe not. That means that if in generally in the material domain, subjective perception is equated with being non-factual. And non-factual, or at least not completely factual. And that's why when we say, what is the issue objectively? We think that objectivity has greater level of clarity. And there is truth to that, no doubt about it. So if in the terms of level of consciousness, we could say to some level that the objective perception is better than subjective. This is not always or entirely true, because if some beautiful art has been made, now some people who have no artistic sense, okay, what's so big deal about it? Now, is that a higher level of perception? No, that could be very well a stunted level of perception. They just don't have the ability to perceive. But here we are talking about, I'm not talking about that specific artistic sensibility. I'm talking here in terms of a perception that is not colored or distorted by one's own emotions. There is one is the artistic faculty by which one can perceive, oh, this is beautiful art. This is mediocre art. That's a faculty. Whereas the other is just emotional infatuation. So I'm saying objective is higher than subjective in the sense that objective is higher than subjective because it's not colored by emotions, colored or distorted by emotions. Now, and this is the whole path of impersonalism. In impersonalism, we try to move beyond the objective, we move from the subjective towards the objective. And then their idea is that there is, in the spiritual domain, no objective reality at all. The only objective reality is that there is no objective reality. Because for there to be an objective reality, see, if this is the subject and this is the object, and then this is the stream of consciousness, the stream of consciousness by which the object is perceived. So, the subjective reality means we're saying how is this person perceiving this object? That is the subjective reality. The objective reality is how is the object actually independent of perception? Now, in philosophy, there's a big question whether we can ever know how the object is independent of perception, because ultimately it's perception. But what the idea overall is that if multiple senses, now, right now I'm sitting here, how do I know this chair, this table, this actually exists or not? Now, I might just be hallucinating. But generally, what we do is, if there is concordance between multiple senses, if my eyes show me, but my hand touches it, then okay, if multiple senses are showing me the same thing, then we say, yeah, this is probably here. So like that, if multiple observers say something similar, then we say that that's objective to some extent. Now the impersonal idea is that because emotions color or distort perception, and that's how Maya, that which is not, we perceive what is not real as real because of emotions. And emotions are associated with the act of perception. So what their idea is, their liberation, sometimes we think that the subject and the object merge. And that is liberation. Like, I am God. So the subject is we as individuals, the object is God. They say, I am God. I'll merge into God. That is their idea. That is generally the idea of liberation. And yes, many impersonalists convey this idea, but this is actually a deviation from traditional impersonalism. Because conventional impersonalism, as taught by Shankaracharya, is not that we become God. Say, for example, this is Brahman. This is, according to them, the ultimate reality. And then this is Ishwar. And this is Jiva. So the idea is that we often think of impersonalism means Jiva and Ishwar will both become one. When they merge, that's liberation. And the impersonalist idea is something else actually. That their idea is that Jiva is an illusion, Ishwar is also an illusion. And the Brahman is the only reality. So for example, in this particular case, they say that complete non-illusory perception is when there is no object to perceive and there is no subject to perceive. There is only the stream of consciousness remaining. So that's why in their case, the objective reality is basically just the stream of consciousness. So spiritual objectivity is that level of reality where actually there is, according to them, there's no object to perceive. In that sense, there's no experience. So, and that level of realization, that level of experience, that level of, although they say it's beyond perception, that level of perception, that they call as Brahman. So now, in English, there are two genders. There is male and female. In some other languages, there are more genders also. So in Sanskrit, there's a neuter gender. So when Jiva Goswami, he analyzes, is in Namamrut Vyakaran, the Brahman as conceived by the impersonalists, he says that he classifies that Brahman as having neuter gender. Not that he classifies, many places in the scripture also is described like that. But he says that it is neuter gender. Why? The point is that this Brahman, we call it the ultimate reality, or that the impersonalists call it the ultimate reality, but it has no potency at all. It is completely, in one sense, impotent. Because all potency, all potentiality, all activity is in the domain of mind. So this idea of objectivity is at one level an illusion. But this is not the only idea of objectivity. Like we said that The subjective domain is there. The objective, as I talked about, is 4 levels. We go from material subjectivity to material objectivity. From material objectivity, there is spiritual objectivity. So in the spiritual objectivity, for example, there is an understanding that there is a hierarchy. There is Jiva Tattva, and then on top is Vishnu Tattva. And in between, of course, we have Shambhu Tattva. Now, there is an objective parameter. Like in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, it's described how there are 64 qualities that characterize Krishna. And then anybody in the Vishnu Tattva has 60 qualities or more. And then there's description, 55 qualities, 50 qualities for Shambhu Tattva, for the highest among the Jiva Tattva. Now we may say, how can you define the absolute Lord, the ultimate Lord, who is, as Ramanacharya says, Ananta Guna Sampanna Narayana. He says, Ananta Guna. He's filled with unlimited qualities. Yes, that is true. The Lord has unlimited qualities. But there are different frameworks used to appreciate the glory of the Lord. So you may say, why only 6 opulences? The Lord has unlimited opulences. True. But when we are trying to analyze in a particular way, we use a particular framework. The Lord outgrows every frame that we may use for understanding Him. And yet, every frame can help us to understand. It's like we want to look at a magnificent mountain. We have a particular frame, we look at it from this perspective. But the mountain is much bigger than our frame. And we move backward and we look for bigger. And it's still bigger, it's still bigger. But if there is no frame at all, we'll never be able to appreciate. So, the idea is that yes, the Lord has unlimited qualities. But this arrangement hierarchically, 64 or 16 Vishnu Tattva, then 55, 50, that is meant to indicate that there is a degree in the manifestation of opulence at different levels of reality. And from the objective perspective, divine opulence is manifested most in the Vishnu Tattva. And perceiving this is a step upward. From material objectivity means we are able to perceive material reality as it is, as far as we can perceive it. But spiritual objectivity, the spiritual objectivity does not mean that this quality-less reality. We perceive this. This is not spiritual objectivity. It is reality with unlimited qualities. Although we will perceive that to different degrees with unlimited qualities. So this is spiritual objectivity. Now it's interesting, in the growth out of Maya, the material objectivity is above material subjectivity. But in the spiritual domain, there is a state of spiritual subjectivity. And that is considered to be higher than the spiritual objectivity. And this is where Yoga Maya comes in. Now at one level, the word Yoga Maya itself is what in English called as an oxymoron. Oxymoron is 2 opposite words which are brought together. That was a brilliantly stupid idea. What do you mean? Is it brilliant or is it stupid? There are some arguments that are so foolish that only an intellectual can believe it. So what it means is that if 2 opposite ideas are brought together to convey some point, that's an oxymoron. So normally yoga conveys the idea of connection, and this connection is based on coming out of illusion. We become connected with reality. But Maya, it conveys disconnection. So it means going into illusion. So normally Maya is the illusion that disconnects us with reality. And yoga is the state where we are connected with reality. So what is Yoga Maya? Yoga Maya is the illusion that connects us more with reality. That is Maya, the Maya that enables us to do yoga. So illusion, it is an illusion, but that illusion increases connection with ultimate reality. In our case, it is Krishna. That ultimate reality can be any Vishnu Tattva also. So at one level, Krishna is God. He is the supreme personality of Godhead. He is the ultimate reality. That is spiritual objectivity. But when Mother Yashoda sees Krishna, she does not see him as God. She sees him as a helpless little child whom, if she does not feed, he will starve and die. And that vision is considered an opulence because that deepens her absorption in Krishna, that increases her remembrance of Krishna, that intensifies her eagerness to serve Krishna. So, yoga maya. So, that means the illusion that increases the connection, that increases the absorption. And if we consider when Srila Prabhupada was about to start his outreach mission, there was that prophecy, Prithvite Achetanagaradi Gram, Sarvatra Vachar Hoi Bimurana. And everywhere, in every town and village, will the name of Krishna be chanted. Mahaprabhu had made this prophecy. Now, before Srila Prabhupada started his outreach, several of his other Gaudiya Vaishnavas, they had two broad attitudes towards this. One was that actually in those times geography was not so well known, so Prithvi referred only to the earth, India. And this is the Aryavarta, this is the place where civilized, cultured people live. And that prophecy has already been fulfilled by Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur because all over India, outreach has already happened. And the other is, okay, now none of them said, oh, it's false. It's false. No, they would never say that. But one was to say that it just went different things, some different. And the other says, yeah, it is his prophecy, he will fulfill it by his plan. But Prabhupada said that fulfilling the Lord's prophecy is the devotee's responsibility. That the devotee feels, my Lord has given this word, I have to fulfill it. In India, there is the Tirupati Balaji temple. It is considered it is by far the wealthiest temple in India. It is considered to be among the wealthiest temples in the world. And if you go back to the history of the story, it is the Lord is indebted to Kuvera because he has taken money, and now the devotees may or may not consciously be aware of this, but the idea is that we are obligated to make up for the debt of the Lord. And that's why devotees give lavish generosity. So the idea that God is supreme and God will do everything, that is a level of objectivity. But that level of objectivity is not conducive to service. And that's why in the hierarchy that is described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the difference between Shantaras and Dasyaras is that there is the desire. Shantaras also is a very elevated ras, where there's complete detachment from matter and complete attachment to the Lord. But there, the Lord is so great. What can I do for him? But in Dasyaras, the Lord is great, that awareness is there. But the Lord has desires, and I want to assist in fulfilling those desires. So that understanding is what connects us with Krishna more and more. So here, the themes, to go back to the starting question, is Krishna's beauty subjective or objective? Well, it is both. There is objectively, Krishna has 6 opulence, Krishna manifests beauty in the highest level. But to the extent we have the desire to love Krishna, to the extent we have the desire to serve Krishna, to that extent, Krishna's beauty will be revealed to us. So what takes one normally so I'll conclude with this point, that we normally, in the normal epistemological understanding, that how do you come out of illusion is by intelligence. You be intelligent, don't be carried away by your emotions. So go from material subjectivity to material objectivity, then like that appear to spiritual objectivity. So the normal you consider tool is use your intelligence to go up. But in bhakti, while intelligence is important, for perceiving the ultimate reality, what is much more important is desire. Desire, affection, love. Krishna says, Tadami buddhi yogam tam yena mamupayanti te. That I will give the intelligence by which you will come to me. And who will get that intelligence? Tesham satayuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam. So it is desire or emotion specifically affection. That is what will take us closer to Krishna. So for us to perceive Krishna's reality, his beauty, that the more we have the desire to serve Krishna, sevon mukhe hi jivvado swayam eva spuratyadha. That when we have the service attitude, then Krishna's beauty is revealed to us spontaneously. So yes, on the path of bhakti, we try to use our intelligence to analyze how materially attractive things are temporary, how the spiritual is eternal, and that's important, that analysis. Ultimately, if we want to deepen our connection with Krishna, what we need is that desire to serve Krishna. And that was Srila Prabhupada's greatest legacy. And the Gaudiya Math splintered. Prabhupada did not get anything from the Gaudiya Math. He did not get a single temple. He did not get a single follower. He did not get any single rupee from the Gaudiya Math. But Prabhupada said that I have inherited my spiritual master's legacy. So what was the legacy? The legacy was the desire to glorify Krishna. And from that desire to glorify Krishna, hundreds of temples manifested, dozens of books manifest, thousands of devotees manifested. So that is what takes us upward. It's deeper absorption in Krishna and deeper empowerment to share the attractiveness of Krishna with everyone. I'll summarize. I discussed broadly 4 different points in today's session. First, I talked about how in this particular context, at one level, Krishna is God, but the devotees are saying that Krishna is feeling exhausted. So they're appreciating his beauty, but there's also the beauty plus fear. There's marvel of his beauty, and there is fear of harm for him. So how is this fear there if he is God? We talked about how we discussed about various levels of subjectivity and objectivity. So the 4 levels I discussed. And then we discussed that from material subjectivity towards material objectivity, when we go, then the problem is that in material domain, often objective is equated with measurable. And that's why much of what is considered, what may be real, but is not considered objective, is because it's not measurable. But in the Vedic philosophy, the physical, mental, and spiritual, all of them are considered objective, even if they may not be strictly measurable in a mathematical sense. This idea of objective as non-personal. So in material domain, the objective is equated with measurable, and that is a mistake. In the spiritual domain, the objective is equated with having no attributes or no emotion. That is also an illusion. And that we discussed how in the spiritual domain there is objectivity, and that objectivity enhances the beauty of Krishna. So it is through desire and that we go toward the subjective domain, and that increases our absorption in Krishna. Thank you very much. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Gaur Premanande.
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Enam Kanvanda Maravindanayatam Bhagavatam Samasitam Purasundaratam Tandar Bhako Vidamaniya Vishesha Shobha
Govinda Adi Purusha Aham Jami
Govinda Adi Purusha Namaha Bhajami Govinda Adi Purusha Namaha Bhajami Andani Yasta Sakale Priya Pridimanti Vasyanti Vikayanti Gira Mekanti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vikrasya
Govinda Adi Purusha Aham Jami
Govinda Adi Purusha Namaha Bhajami Govinda Adi Purusha Namaha Bhajami Govinda
You can report this to the Indian Bureau and Vasha Ghosh too. Namahom Vishnu Vataya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Samaniti Namane Krishna Prastaya Namaste Saraswati Devi Nuramani Pacha Visesha Shunyavade Vasachade Sacharande Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gachara Siva Sade Gorakta Prandana Shri Krishna Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Ramanujana Shri Advaita Gajada Siva Sade Gaurata Branda Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Ramanujana Advaita Gajada Siva Sade Gaurata Branda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Govinda Jaya Jaya, Gopala Jaya Jaya, Radharamana Hare Govinda Jaya Jaya. Govinda Jaya Jaya, Gopala Jaya Jaya, Radharamana Hare Govinda Jaya Jaya. Jaya Radha, Agalokyanana Radha, Agalokyanana Dragate. Jaya Radha, Agalokyanana Radha, Agalokyanana Dragate. Jaya Radha, Radhe, 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 Radhe. Radhe, 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 Jaya Radhe. Jai, Jai Om Vishnupad.
Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam Akairavya Chandranam Vidyavadu Jivanam Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam Pratipanam Purnamrita Swadanam Great, static. Nam Namakari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatrapita Niyamita Smarane Nakala Etadrishita Bhakipa Bhagavan Sunichena Tarora Suhishuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Vajagadishakamaye Mama Janmani Janmani Ishvare Bhavatad Bhaktir Hoitaki Twai Ainanda Tanuja Kingaram Patitam Mam Vishame Bhavam Buddha Kripayata Vapata Pankaja Stita Duli Sadrishim Vachintaya Nayanam Galata Shudaraya Varanam Gadgada Rudai Gira Pulakarnishitam Vapukada Tavanama Grahane Bhavishyati Yogayatam Namishena Chakshusha Pravashayatam Shunayatam Jagat Sarvam Govindam Virahename Ashlishya Vapadamratam Panastumam Adarshanam Marmahata Karotuba Yatatava Vindatolam Patomat Prananatastusa Eva Napara. Victory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. O my Lord, congregational chanting of your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings And thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you've invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I'm so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect and the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O Son of Rajnanda Krishna, I'm your eternal servitor. Yet somehow or other I have fallen in the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. Oh, my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I'm considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I'm feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he handled me roughly by his embrace or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord unconditionally. Shri Shastastika Ki Jai.